I was kind of debating whether or not to bring this up because, Julia, in case you didn't know, right before you came on, Justin and I got into a heated discussion over governance.
It was my fault, frankly.
Okay, specifically around the recent ENS drama.
Yeah.
And I'll leave the quick context here, okay? Which is basically ENS is essentially the new domain that you can own, right? So when you see, whether it's on Twitter or something, like, julia.eth or something, like that's your domain that you own. And so one of the main leaders actually behind this project recently got into, people found kind of like old hateful comments that he had said about marginalized communities and essentially like called into question whether he was fit to lead, right? Now, this is a really interesting, like, playing in real time thing. And I will tell you, like, a lot of people were like, he holds so many tokens and he holds so much power in the ENS DAO. Maybe he's not fit to do this. And there was like, all week I've been seeing people calling for other ENS holders to, hey, redelegate your vote. Like, don't put it in the hands of this leader if you don't agree with his views. And I think that's a very real time, like, just looking at the inflows of like people who have delegated votes out of this leader's hands. It's pretty interesting to see that at play. And personally, like, putting kind of like tokens behind my words, I rage bought a bunch of ENS tokens just to delegate to someone else. So like, I personally have like certainly felt that at hand, right? And it certainly felt very just like satisfying. Like, you know what? I'm going to go buy a couple hundred ENS tokens just to not give it to you. And I did it, and I certainly felt it very much like playing out.
I think something that needs to be sort of acknowledged around this is that, and some of the like crux of tension that existed among this really unfortunate display of leadership was that, this might be a hot take, but crypto systems should be as governance minimized and incredibly neutral as possible. But I think what's misunderstood is that organizations themselves cannot be credibly neutral by their very nature. Like, DAOs are opinionated groups of people. And like both of you pointed out many, many times, like, we have diverse groups of stakeholders in all of these DAOs. And I think it's a huge mistake to acknowledge them as credibly neutral in like bodies of people. And so I think, DAO should be flexible enough so they can continue to sort of redraw themselves around people who share values and mission. And I think what I'm interested to see is DAOs moving forward, if they will be more opinionated about sort of the mission, vision, values, ethos that, they believe in as a group of stakeholders. And if people don't resonate with those, then, maybe it's not the space for them. But I think just acknowledging that DAOs themselves are not credibly neutral pieces of infrastructure is a really important thing to acknowledge here.
Well, I think it's the more important thing is actually just understanding that like DAOs are not neutral because people are not neutral. People are incredibly emotional and like, and humans, right? And like, maybe I'm one type of emotional, but everyone is emotional. And leaders, if I would like to see a leader reflect, my values. And so I think like inherently, like, that's what you're seeing even in traditional world, like stakeholders demanding traditional companies to engage in more activism. This is why like ESG is on the rise. It's because like, I think DAOs or companies, like, yeah, legally speaking, they're just documents and entities, but they're made up of very emotional people, emotional leaders, emotional stakeholders. And that's not a bad thing. Like, the point now is actually like, if you as a holder feel a certain way and you want the leader of whatever company or tokens that you hold to reflect it, you can actually, like, in your very small power, like power to the people type, move it along.
I think it goes back to the accountability systems that we were talking about earlier. Like, if I, voted for you to be in office and then you did something that was a very poor display of leadership and I no longer felt aligned with you, like, I should have immediate tools at my disposal to actually hold you accountable to those actions.
At the end of the day, this is actually the power of Web3, where you actually can exercise your vote. You can express your opinions a certain direction, and it's very immediate, right?